because you're going to be first. Okay, ready to go.
We can hear you.
Hello, how are you doing? Great. I'm Stephen Bartkus, the Executive Director of the Ridgefield Historical Society. Today is Saturday, November 15th, 2025. I'd like to welcome you all to the Historical Society Scott House here at 4 Sunset Lane in Ridgefield, Connecticut. The Ridgefield Historical Society is an independent nonprofit organization dedicated to preserving and sharing Ridgefield's remarkable history. To our members and donors in attendance, thank you for your continuing support. Everything that we do is made possible by your generosity. If you're not yet a member, I invite you to join us. Go to RidgefieldHistoricalSociety.org to sign up, become a member or a volunteer, and learn about our many upcoming events. Speaking of upcoming events, have you heard of the Ridgefield Holiday House Tour? It's going to be on Saturday, December 6th. It's a major joint fundraiser for the Ridgefield Historical Society in Tiger Hollow. 6 beautiful Ridgefield homes, each decorated for the holidays, will be open for you to view. There will also be a fabulous holiday market and raffle at Lounsbury House, which is our headquarters for the day, which will be open to the public. The 11 a.m. tour is sold out, and there are only a limited number of tickets left for the 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. tours. Go to RidgefieldHolidayHouseTour.org to get your tickets today. So for today's presentation, we have Dr. Darla Shaw as our MC. She is a longtime Ridgefield resident, was an educator in the Ridgefield Public Schools for 38 years, and a women's studies professor at Western Connecticut State University for over 25 years. Darla works tirelessly as a volunteer of the Ridgefield Historical Society. Please join me in giving Darla a warm welcome and let the Tellabration begin.
Nosebleed, don't panic, I'll be okay. I am so excited. The first year, the first time we did this, we had a handful of people. The second year we did this, we had all of the speakers sitting here and other people and a few people standing. So this time we had so many reservations. We have our speakers out there, and we have many people who are going to be listening and seeing online. You can go to Facebook. It will be recorded, and it will be there for 30 days. So if you want to see one of your favorite speakers again, that will happen. Usually at this point, I tell you about Papa Pinkerton and how he started Tellabration. But we have a speaker who has to leave early, so we're going to start with Wendy Gannon Leonetti. She was born and bred in Ridgefield. Come on out, Wendy. And this woman also married a local boy, and she is our town clerk. And she's going to be talking about something, background of something so close to her and so important. Okay. Close to her.
Okay? Thank you. I am very proud and feel very privileged and honored to be here with you today. As you heard, my name is Wendy Gannon Leonetti. I'm an almost lifelong resident of Ridgefield. My family moved here from Dorchester, New York in 1963 when I was 1. So now you know how old I am.
I didn't know where this place was.
Just
I've
turned.
been waiting at another
I'm a
place.
town Ridgefield employee since 2003. I spent 15 years as the assistant to the first select person, and then in 2018 I began working as a town clerk, and I've held that position ever since. So it was in my role in the first select person's office that I was introduced to Sphere, because Rudy Marconi was participating in a Scoop-a-thon fundraiser for Sphere at the local Carvel ice cream shops. I thought I would support him and Sphere because I had learned that the mission of the organization to enrich and enhance the lives of adults with other abilities through education, the arts, recreation, and nurturing and fostering relationships between members and community appealed to me. It was there that I learned about their summertime art program from someone actually sitting in the other room, Tammy, who you'll be hearing from in a little while. And really it was part of it because of my conversation with her that inspired me to end up volunteering for the summer with their art program. During that time, I began establishing relationships with the members, and at that time, I had begun beading as just a hobby. A friend of mine who was actually a former Ridgefield resident taught me how to bead, and so I invited some of my sphere friends to get together and make jewelry together, just using the supplies that I had on hand. So I asked them if they'd like to learn, and they answered with a resounding yes. We initially started meeting in my house, and then we met in a small conference room at Town Hall. And then a fun thing happened. More sphere members wanted to learn beading, and so we had to move to a larger conference room. At that time, I was approached by the Sphere Board about making this a legitimate Sphere program, and I said yes. And then Spirit Creations was born. So Sphere It Creations was important to me to call it that because I feel that there is something very sacred about what happens when we gather together. Yes, we create, but we also connect as human beings and support one another in our daily ups and downs. The spirit in the room is one of love and inclusiveness. So we grew more and began meeting at Parks and Recreation. All of the beads and accessory containers that I had were packed neatly in suitcases, and I would stuff them every week in my little Toyota Corolla. And the members would help me unpack them, bring them into Parks and Rec, and then at the end of the night pack them all together and put them back in the little Toyota Corolla. It was our version of the question, how many people can you fit in a VW bug? There were a lot of beads. So then, temporarily, at that point, we moved to a space on Main Street. When it opened up, the space behind Planet Pizza, 421 Main Street, became our new space, and we've been there ever since. And Sphere has grown quite a bit ever since I had started. Now we have art class year-round, bingo, games, and Spirit Creations programs, and they all occur in this space right in the center of town, which is great because a lot of our members live and can walk to our programs, or at least it's just a central location. So a few years ago, my husband and I built a pottery studio in our basement, and I slowly introduced the medium of clay to our Spirit Creations program. So now we alternate making jewelry one week and pottery the next. Among other things, our artists have made 30 seconds. We've made all kinds of things: mezuzahs, whistles, shakers, eyeglass lanyards, necklaces, bracelets, all unique, all beautiful. We gather and create. Sometimes we have what I call kumbaya time, when we sit in a circle and simply share. I've learned much about what is important in life from my Sphere friends. The time we spend together is sacred to me, that which pulls me beyond the boundary of myself and my personal concerns and wraps me in relationship with the divine through these incredible people. I invite you to come any Tuesday night at 6:30 to meet our artists and feel the love that is shared. I promise you won't regret it.
Fran, you're next. She's coming. Fran also had to leave early, so she was going to be speaking. Fran is going to be talking for 4 minutes on being the very first music teacher at Ridgeberry School.
You have to go.
I've been waiting for half an hour at 470 everyone.
This is for anybody.
I don't have to purchase food.
Pilots used to live up in Ridgeberry, mainly because they went to this was the beginning, as you know, of a long process of building elementary schools. Ridgebury School had to go to double sessions with Veterans Park until it was finished. So in September of '61, Veterans Park children went to school from 8 to 1, and the Ridgebury children went to school from 11 to 4, overlapping lunch and recess. The music teacher at Veterans Park School was Marion Woodlock, and I credit Marion for being my mentor and helping make me a good music teacher. So, finally in March of '62, we moved into the building. It wasn't finished, but we would be in class and hear the workmen putting in the speakers saying, 1, 2, tree, 1, 2, tree. Then after the speakers were put in, the blackboards were drilled in, all while we were teaching in the classroom. One time, they were working on the bottom of Ridgebury School, which is split level, and they put all the 6th grades in the library at one time with one teacher, me. Thank goodness it was just for one period. The 6th grade teachers at that time were Gerda Winslow, John Lynch, and Mike Scandera. Some of you might know those people. One time, in the middle of winter, it began to snow. It snowed and snowed, and it began to be up toward the windowsills at Ridgebury School, but down in town, the cars were packing the traffic down. The snow was being packed down, and Dr. Pizzarello, superintendent of schools at that time, didn't realize how bad the situation was getting up in Ridgebury. And finally, Dr. Boyd, who was principal, persuaded him that it was a dangerous situation for the buses and for the teachers who had to wait for the children to be gone before they could go home. Well, my little Morris Minor didn't make the trip. It was dark by this time, and I skidded off the road and had to walk the 1.5 miles home in the snow, in the dark, to my house in Ridgefield.
30 seconds.
Oh, okay. Well, Ridgefield had an elementary music teacher at that time, so I started one. We had orchestra on Friday afternoons and band on Saturday mornings, and I credit the parents for bringing the children to school Saturday morning. My son who lives in Ridgefield called me to see if I wanted to go with him to help my grandson choose his 4th grade instrument. We arrived at Ridgebury School, and the music band who came out and greeted us said he was a music teacher. I said, well, I was the first music teacher. He said, did you write the school song? And I said, the 4th grade, and I wrote the school song. 63 years later, they're still singing. And I've got the words in my car. I was so frantic to get in here. But
Thank you so much. And I'd like to call out Mary Conroy. We're talking about the Ridgefield school system, and Mary is going to be talking about an icon, her father, Bob McDonald, the principal of Farming Hills. And how many sisters do you have?
I have 5 sisters and 1 brother.
Wow. What are 6 sisters?
Yeah.
Are you the oldest?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for coming. Okay.
Yeah, and some of the stories that Fran Held just told, I remember because my dad was an administrative intern at that time. So my dad, Robert Edward, better known as Bob McDonald, was born in Danbury on June 25th, 1931, to Margaret and Edward McDonald. The true and constant joy of Dad's early life was baseball. He loved playing it. There was never too much. From Sandlot with the neighborhood guys, to the Wildcats American Legion, to Danbury High School, through Danbury State Teachers College, and even in the Army, he loved being a member of the team. He even enjoyed a brief professional stint when the owner of the Mallory Hat Factory was recruiting some better players, had his paper route and his first national job combined, so he was thrilled for that. Dad returned to Connecticut from the Army to enjoy teaching 4th and 5th grade in Stanford. And what could be better for a devoted baseball fan to have as one of the fathers in his class was Jackie Robinson. And one of Dad's favorite stories is when the Brooklyn Dodgers were in the 1956 World Series. So Dad reached out to Mr. Robinson and said, you know, I'd love it to take the class on a field trip to a game, you know, one of the games. To which Mr. Robinson replied, I send my son to you to be educated and not to be playing around, and my son will be in your class during game time. So that was the end of that. But he was a terrific guy, though. That doesn't tell the whole story. During this time, he met our beautiful mother, Joanne Levangie, an elementary teacher in Darien. Dad says that he knew he wanted to marry her the first time they went out. It took Mom a little longer to clear her calendar, but they were happily married in June 1957 in Vermont. And did I mention that Jackie Robinson went to Dad's bachelor party?
Wow.
I was born 1 year later, 7 children, 6 daughters, and a son in 9 years. In 1961, we moved to Ridgefield for Dad's administrative internship at Ridgebury School, and Fran Held could tell you the behind-the-scenes story for that. He also had a lawn mowing job that summer. So they wanted him to be involved in teacher interviews, so somebody would bring him off the lawnmower and into the school. So years later, he met a gentleman that they had hired that summer, and he said, listen, I was at that interview, and I thought, what is going on with this school system? There's this sweaty young guy covered in grass who's asking me questions. It was really funny. Dad began the job that would become the love of his career as the first principal in Farmingville School, a position he held for 26 years. What was important to Dad? Connectedness. Dad was always seeking to make a meaningful connection with others. He knew all the children's names at Farmingville and loved greeting them every morning with his characteristic big smile. One of Dad's unspoken precepts in life was, look for the good in everyone and you will find it. One poster on the old Ridgefield site had said, I moved from Boston to Ridgefield and was placed in 5th grade. I was in the office on more than one occasion, but he was always fair and decent. And guess what? I turned out okay, just as he said I would.
Okay, thank you so much. Did you have a lot more?
Oh, not a lot more, but I
No.
I'm not time is up.
Okay.
Thank
All
you
right,
so much.
thank you so much. I have not been with the Ridgefield school system for 38 years if it had not been for Bob McDonald. He voted for me over another teacher, even though the vote was originally 2-for-1 for the other teacher. Okay, now I'm going to pull out my little bag here, and we have Andrea. And Andrea is going to talk to us, and I think you can see she has a costume even, about the daughters of the American Revolution and how important they are.
Hi, I'm Andrea Beebe. I've been in Ridgefield for 38 years. Raised our sons here. My son is back, and my son's in-laws are joining us today, and they live back in town, and now my children are going through the school system also. My kids were Bob McDonald's. Yes. At the end of Bob McDonald's at Farmingville. So I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the DAR. Just some quick facts. The DAR is celebrating its 135th year of organization. It was founded back in 1890 by 4 women, very substantial women in the DC area, who were angered because the Sons of the American Revolution wouldn't let women in. So they said, why not? We'll form our own organization. So they did. As many of you know, the National Society of Daughters of the American Revolution is actually a lineage society and a service organization. And we provide, we do a lot of good work and a lot of good deeds. Around the world right now, there's currently 2,000 chapters. Connecticut has about 42 chapters, and we were one of the last chapters formed back in 2021. We started forming in 2020. We thought, isn't it a shame the Battle of Ridgefield took place and there's no DAR chapter in Ridgefield. So the closest chapter was in Wilton. And we said, there's a group of us that would like to form a chapter in Ridgefield. So we went through all of the work to do so. And it was a year-long process to be approved. One of the things we had to do was become a charter chapter, a minimum number of members that were willing to commit for at least 2 years to the chapter, and then we had to choose a name. And you can imagine when you've got 20 women in a room trying to choose one name, but it had to have a tie to the American Revolution. So we looked at women's names, and I know I'm jumping around, but I'm trying to do my 4 minutes, you don't have to have held a gun to be a patriot. You do not have to have fought on a battleground to be considered a patriot, to be included in the DAR. You had to have provided service. That could be a bartender or a tavern owner. It could be a lady that darned socks. It could be somebody that hung the linen on the lines. Many things. So we looked at a lot of women. The trouble with trying to prove a woman's lineage to the American Revolution was the paperwork. Everything's tied to paperwork. So there are lots of records on guys. There weren't as many records on women. So we scoured all the Ridgefield books, the Bedini book, the Rockwell book, Jack Sanders letters, everything we could find. We had hoped to have the lady that had where the Ridgefield Public Library is. That used to be a tavern, Smith's Tavern. We had really tried very hard to have her, who was the widow of the owner, be the name of our chapter. But that didn't work. So, Cannon Ridge. We are Cannon Ridge. And there are 16 ridges in Ridgefield. So that's where the ridge part came from. And the cannon, you can guess, is from the cannonball that was shot into the side of Keeler Tavern. We are really excited to be here in Ridgefield. We have 3 pillars in DAR, which are patriotism, education, and historic preservation. So patriotism, we do a lot of work with our veterans groups and outreach to the home of the Braves. 3 seconds? Okay, quick. And really fast, one of the things we're doing is historic preservation, and I'm happy to say that our chapter helped the Ridgefield Historical Society gain the grant that put the new roof on the elementary school at the bottom of Ridgefield Road. So thank you.
Okay, we do have some men speakers. I guess we're going to have them at the end. Antoinette. Yes, Antoinette Brendan. She is probably our most seasoned professional. And I think she's... Antoinette, how old are you now?
37.
How old are you now?
Ancient.
She's in her mid-90s.
A woman who was
And she's still speaking. And she's a professional speaking at Williamsburg, Virginia, and other places. And she still speaks at Founders Hall. And today, she's going to talk about, get back here and use this, please.
I wanted to tell you that the woman who will tell her age will tell you anything.
This is the most amazing woman.
Oh, stop.
Okay, 4 minutes now.
My story starts in Williamsburg, Virginia, where my husband and I were happily living a very active, full life. Until one day I thought I detected early signs of dementia in him. A doctor confirmed my suspicions. As you can imagine, our lives changed drastically. My son, who lived here in Ridgefield, would come down periodically when he could arrange it and help me. He always left with the same concern. Mother, I want to help you, but you're just too far away. I heard this repeatedly, and he was right. I knew he was right. It was a long drive. Or even air travel wasn't, Williamsburg has no airport. So anyway, So eventually I said, all right, we'll move up there. And we came October of 2018, and other than my son's family, I knew nobody. Nobody. And I didn't realize how lonely and isolated I was going to feel. But that was what this deal was. Well, my husband died shortly thereafter, a few months later, and then I really felt alone. Well, my son kept saying, well, why don't you try Founders Hall? I said, what's Founders Hall? Well, it's a place where, I said, oh, you mean a senior center where you go and play bridge and canasta? Well, maybe. He said, why don't you go try? So anyway, what could I do? I went over and walked in the front door. Can you imagine my surprise when this very pleasant, cheerful person at the front desk greeted me? And here we are in a lovely lobby with carpeting and nice furniture, beautiful artwork on the walls. Oh, this wasn't what I expected at all. Then the person at the front desk wanted to take me on a tour. So I went around in the building, and whoever had designed it had thought of everything. I mean, from a billiards table to an exercise room to an art room. It was fantastic. Well, then I was told that this is a course book. You might want to take a look in this. Course book? Yes, it gives you the descriptions of all the classes that we offer here. Classes? Well, yes. Oh, but you don't have to worry. You have plenty of time because the semester doesn't start for another week or so. Semester? Courses? Classes? Semester? Oh my goodness, what's all this going to cost me? Oh, no, don't worry about that. You'd be surprised because the average class is somewhere around $35, maybe $40, but it's not greatly expensive. Oh. Well, I was beginning to get the picture. Classes, courses, and what was the other one I just said? Anyway, I was beginning to realize that this was not a place where you just sat and played bridge. Oh, that was another thing. They had an exercise room with mirrors on the wall so that you could see if you were having the right posture and so on. I mean, they had, and then the other thing that really got my attention was the sewing room. I had a UFO. My friend in Virginia called them unfinished objects when you were sewing. Well, it bothered me for quite a while. And here was a room dedicated with brand new sewing machines and a very talented, knowledgeable instructor. I finished my UFO. And when I did, the offices are on the second floor.
30 seconds.
They all applauded. So yes, I extol the virtues of Founders Hall. Otherwise, I probably would have gone back to Virginia. Thank you for your
I'm speaking at Founders Hall from time to time. I just give this woman so much credit. She is a role model. If some of the four people want to come up here and sit so they can see, the people speaking. Okay, our next speaker. Oh, we have Ira Joe. Now, I have to tell you that Ira Joe said to me, I have 4 minutes. And he said, that could be hard. And then he wrote me back and he said, I'm okay. He said, I can do it in 4 minutes or less. I'm leaving all the verbs out of what I'm going to say. Now, that's a typical Ira Joe comment. Come on in, Ira.
Thank you. No applause? Oh, that's right, you're eating it on my time. Well, thank you. I know I've been really vague in responding to
But when you
anybody
respond, you
mismasked.
must
Okay, you're very kind, and thank you for doing this. I had no idea what shape our gathering was going to take. It's good to see you. So I have brought with me a story that might frighten you. Yeah. Are you ready for this? Based on a poem I wrote. The story is called Obituary. I'm standing outside of a beautiful New England building. It's made out of wood and it's painted scarlet red. I go up the stairs and step into the building, into the smells, the odors, the fragrances of cinnamon sticks and milk chocolate. Oh my heavens, there's all kinds of candy, Bazooka Joe, bubble gum, and bit of honey. Oh, it's wonderful. And as I start to make my way through the room, a woman, older than I was much younger at the time, wearing a gray dress with gray flowers, starts to come toward me. And she blocks my way. And I say, "Oh, excuse me," and I go around into the store, which is gigantic. And on every table, in every display bin, are treasures that are unimaginable. I saw fuzzy brown gloves, I saw socks, I saw shirts, I saw sweatshirts with pictures of golden retrievers, some with and some without ducks in their mouths. It was incredible. And in another room, there was brown bread, all wrapped and beautiful, and jars of jelly and jam and preserves, raspberry, strawberry, Danbury, Waterbury. It was stunning. I couldn't believe that I was in this place. And then the woman is in front of me again. And she blocks my way. I said, "Excuse me." And she steps aside, and I go up a couple of steps into a room that is called the book room. It was heaven. I'm looking at the shelf of books, and I see a book about snowflakes. I see a book about Calvin Coolidge. I see a book about old-time baseball, a book about moths, and I thumbed through a collection of Robert Frost poems, and it was charming, but time to move on. I go down the steps, there stands the little old woman, bless her heart, excuse me, and I go around her to a room where they have dippers for soup, and the sun is coming through the window, and it's glinting on all of the metal treasures that I see in front of me. It was so beautiful. And there's a blue glow from the fluorescent ceiling. Unbelievable. And I start to make my way back to where they keep even more winter goods, like ski equipment. And the woman comes up to me and says, "Is your name Leonard?" I said, "No, it isn't." And then she says to me, "You sure look like him." I said, "Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not. Where does he live?" And she says, "He don't. He died over in Ludlow back in the 70s. All of a sudden, I make my way out of the store, and all I can think about, I have forgot all about Robert Frost, and especially about Calvin Coolidge. I'm a Democrat. And I'm making my way out the door, and all I can think, darling, is how much I look like a dead man.
Our next speaker is Tammy. Tammy Straub is a musician. She was one of my students at Westcott. She's a musical therapist, and she's going to be talking about the chorale.
I'm a little bit short for the podium. Use the microphone. Okay. Soothe the soul, mend a heart, bring together lives that have been torn apart. Share the joy, find a friend. It's a never-ending gift that circles back again. This is why we sing. Anyone who's attended a Ridgefield chorale concert knows that this is how our theme song, with which we conclude every concert, and it encapsulates who we are as an organization. The Ridgefield Chorale was founded by Ernestine Holmes in 1976. We'll be celebrating our golden anniversary in the new year. Under Ernestine, the chorale was founded with classical roots and a tradition of singing the Messiah. In 1998, Daniela Sikora took the lead when Ernestine stepped down. leading the chorale in the direction of contemporary music of all genres, pop, jazz, Broadway, and classical. We're a non-for-profit organization comprised of about 70 or so singers from Ridgefield and surrounding towns of all ages and all musical abilities, from Broadway performers to those who can't read music at all. There's no audition required to sing, just a love of singing. We offer 3 concerts a year, a fall, spring, and a holiday concert, which is also a charitable event that donates the proceeds to a local organization. This year's recipient is going to be the Community Food Rescue of Danbury. Our rehearsals are more than just music. We share laughter, joy, camaraderie, and most importantly, love. Daniela always states that she always stands in front of the choir with love. And that love is reciprocated with Daniela and among all the members. We're truly a family, and we take care of each other. This past year, one of our past members had declining health, and she actually recently passed away. Our assistant director, Lori Bradbury, banded together a group of chorale members to take turns visiting her every single day, so that her final days were filled with love and friendship and, of course, song. I joined the chorale in 1999. I was a sophomore in college at Brandeis, and I was home in Ridgefield for my holiday break. Believe it or not, that was 26 years ago, which is more than half my lifetime. I found the chorale to be such a welcoming organization. And before taking the stage, I recall that Daniela shared a blessing with all of us. Blessed be the choral singer who sings for the pure joy of singing. This really struck a chord with me, and I knew I had found a musical family. The concert that following spring was Broadway themed, and of course I was at college at the time in Boston. But I begged Daniela to let me sing, despite the fact that I couldn't attend any of the rehearsals. But I would learn the music, and she miraculously said yes. So, after I finished college, I moved back to Ridgefield, and I became even more involved in the chorale. For 5 years, I served as secretary before stepping down because I was moving back to Boston for graduate school to become a music therapist. This decision was heavily influenced by experiences that I shared with the Ridgefield Chorale. Through the time that I was in the chorale, Daniela took a group of us to sing weekly at Laurel Ridge. The chorale had a partnership with Sphere, which Wendy talked about earlier, and I was so inspired by sharing the stage with the adults with disabilities that I started volunteering to assist on their musical productions. I also assisted Daniela with the Bridges program at Barlow Mountain Elementary School, building a bridge through music, pairing typical third graders with special needs preschoolers. To quote again why we sing, music builds a bridge, it can tear down a wall. Music is a language that can speak to one and all. And this is what I wanted to do with my life. Daniela encouraged me, supported me, and believed in me, which enabled me to have the confidence that I could achieve this dream. So now I've been working 13 years as a music therapist.
30 seconds.
So, I've had many wonderful years and memories with the Ridgefield Chorale, and I'll share a quick favorite story. In 2015, we were invited to sing in Salzburg, Austria, in a festival choir celebrating the 50th anniversary of The Sound of Music. We sang in a Rodgers and Hammerstein concert at the Mozarteum, and we also participated in a Sound of Music tour, singing songs on location where they were filmed. And we even unknowingly crashed a wedding while singing The Lonely Goat Herd by the famous fountain in Mirabelle Gardens as the bride and groom were behind us descending the staircase.
So much.
Thank you all so much.
Lane Lancer. He is a friendly Ridgefield orthodontist, and he is a very well-known comedy person in our area. In fact, he's performing just this coming Tuesday someplace. So here we have Dr. Blake talking about the and the room just fits him.
Okay, you want to sync up? Ready, Darla?
Speak up.
So in my orthodontic practice, we have a lot of tenants. And one philosophy we have is we never say no to a patient's request. So I always sponsor when they ask me sporting events, recitals. One day, an 11-year-old patient, Jack, comes in and says, would you like to be in the RVNA spelling bee? So for those who don't know, Ridgefield Visiting Nurses Association has a big fundraiser, and they ask a town celebrity to participate. So we asked on behalf of his mother, who works for the RVNA. Here's the thing, I'm a terrible speller. Like bad. My wife will attest. But never say no to a patient. So I had to accept Jack's request. So like any good Harvard alumni, I studied for months in advance. Months. We gave patients like slips of paper so they'd be in the chair before I saw them. They'd be like, Dr. Langberg, spell juxtaposition. My staff during lunch breaks would be like, spell onomatopoeia. My wife and I would be watching not our favorite TV show at night, but we'd be studying Greek and Latin words with their derivatives. She was a hard teacher, yeah. So here's the thing. I said yes to Jack, and I had one goal in mind for the spelling bee. I didn't want to be the first person voted off. Well, who messed up their words. I didn't want to. That was a big thing. I didn't want to get embarrassed. So I studied really hard. Finally, the day came of the spelling bee. Did I mention it was in the Playhouse? 500 people Playhouse. I was so fearful. I did not want to be the first to mess up the word. But I was ready. I looked at the competition. There was 18 of us. We had a police officer. We had the founder of the Prospector, the director of the Playhouse, a physician, and a Ridgefield High School student. I thought, okay, I at least won't be the first. So I was fifth. They drew me fifth. We went out there, capacity crowd. My first word was a line. They did that on purpose. That was in my wheelhouse. I got a line. My next word was July. I'm like, oh, I studied all this for nothing. Then I had icon. Okay, like, fine. We're on to the fourth round. Nobody was voted out. I even had a lifeline. I asked my daughter's elementary school principal, Mrs. Gately at the time, Farmingville. So she was ready for me in case I needed her. My word was scarecrow. Okay, it was like a little longer word. My heart rate's starting to increase and speed up. I didn't want to use my lifeline yet. Nobody had used their lifeline. SCARCROW. Ding! The first one out of the spelling. 500 people crowd word gave me a sympathy clap. It was devastating. I was embarrassed and humiliated. It was terrible, and I tried to conquer a fear. But here's the thing. I realized, okay, it didn't take me a day or even a week, even months, maybe a little bit of therapy. But after a year, I finally see it from a new perspective. Right now, even when you lose, you win. Because what did I do? I helped raise money for a great organization. I can now spell a couple of words I couldn't spell before. I can spell lanai. Yeah. And I taught my daughters, my 3 daughters, that when you give it a shot, even if you're embarrassed, you still win because you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. And here's the kicker, 10 seconds left. There's now the annual Ridgefield Scarecrow Contest right on Main Street. So despite my PTSD with the word, my staff convinced me to enter. And I have to say, Dr. Scarcrow won first place.
It's a great story. Okay, Mike Jacobs is next. Last year his wife told a story, and she said, my husband has some good stories to tell too. So Mike Jacobs. He's going to talk about meeting a famous person.
Yeah, I can give a little background on myself. I go back to year 1960s, and I was a land surveyor for Hendrici's land surveying in New Canaan, and I got a phone call one day because I was in charge of the Ridgefield department, phone call came on, and it was Cornelius Ryan. And he said, "This is Cornelius Ryan." I said, "Who?" He said, "Cornelius Ryan." "Oh," I said, "the famous author." "All right, what can I do for you, Mr. Ryan?" So he wanted to take his property and divide it into a couple of lots. So we made an appointment. So that night, I got home and I said to Jean, I said, "You know, Jean, a funny thing happened to me today. I'm going to go see Cornelius Ryan." Oh, she goes, "Wow, will they autograph my book?" I said, "Oh, sure." I said, "Why not?" Her book was The Longest Day, which was the invasion of Normandy. So I said, "Sure." But she said, "Remember one thing, though. Please do not have him autograph it when you first go in the door. You know, make sure when the meeting's over, then you can have him autograph it." I said, "Sure, okay." So Mr. Ryan lived on Old Branchville Road. So the next day, I went over there and knocked on the door. And I says, "You know, Mr. Ryan, my name is Mike Jacobs, and you're my wife's favorite author. Would you please autograph her book?" He said, "Sure." So I walked the property with him, and then we went back and we sat down, and he had coffee and he had donuts, and he told me a story which was really interesting. He said that he wanted to get into Russia to search his last book, and his last book was called The Last Battle. And so he got in touch with JFK, and JFK got him into Russia to search his book. So then he decided that, you know, I would like to leave my research to the Ridgefield Library. But there's a caveat. And the caveat is you have to change the name from the Morris Library to John F. Kennedy Library. And of course the town wasn't going to do that. So he left his research to his college in Ohio. And that's my story about it.
We're going to hear from another male now, Jim Ward, but most people don't even know his real name. He is known as Mr. Appliance. Now, Mr. Appliance is not going to tell us how to repair anything. He's going to tell us about the spirit builders who do so much for our town.
Welcome. Well, it's going to be hard to keep 4 minutes. I could talk forever about spirit building. But anyway, we moved to this town 23 years ago and found it to be a phenomenal town. There's so many people that volunteer and give back. I just want to take a moment to talk about spirit builders. So Jesse Lee Spirit Builders, what we do, we've been around over a decade. We build wheelchair ramps for people that are, local here. Other communities, we go an hour away from Ridgefield, anywhere around there. The clientele we serve, the recipients, vary in all sorts of ranges. There's people with cerebral palsy, Parkinson's, ALS, young, old, and we've been doing it now, like I said, for over a decade. We're well over 350 ramps that we've done. Quick background, how it actually started was there was a group of volunteers that renovated the carriage house at Jesse Lee. Then there's another organization called Appalachian Service Project. So volunteers from both of those, some did both, came back, and in ASP we go down to Appalachia for 1 week a year. We fix homes, we make them warmer, safer, drier. So we came back and we realized that, there's a lot more to do local. It's not, you don't have to go to Appalachia to help people. There's people up here that have a need. So we said, what could we do? So we started building wheelchair ramps. And like I said, a lot of it was ASP. This year, ASP, we sent 312 people down to Appalachia for a week. That's young adults, high school age youth, and adults. So we, like I said, we go anywhere within an hour of Ridgefield. So I would, if you have the opportunity, go to the back of Jesse Lee, and you can see ramp sections that we have pre-built. So if anybody likes puzzles, this is great. It's just a big puzzle. We have these ramp sections that are designed to be bolted together, wheelchair ramps, and we give people access in and out of their home. If you have the opportunity, go to Jesse Lee Spirit Builders. And one of the first pictures, and I'm not saying to look at the first picture just because I'm in it, but we did a ramp last year for a 14-year-old girl in Bridgeport. So for a single mom. So the mother could no longer get her in and out of the house up the steps. So she was basically housebound. She couldn't leave unless she called neighbors or the fire department to come to bring her out for appointments, medical appointments. We built the ramp, and the smile on her face when she came out, and saw that made my day, made everybody's day, and that's why we keep coming back. So one of the things is we have the need keeps growing. The first Saturday of every month we do these ramps, and we do sometimes 3, 4 or more ramps a Saturday. And now the need is growing so much we're doing it on other Saturdays and oftentimes during the week. So if you know of anybody that has any interest, please let them know. Go to Spirit Builders. We can use all the help we can get. And then if you have any questions, you can ask me, Jim Ward. Pete Nichols in the back is also a Spirit Builder. He volunteers in pretty much everything. But it's a wonderful organization. Like I said, Ridgefield is just phenomenal. So many volunteer opportunities, and I know a lot of people volunteer. But this is definitely worthwhile, and it's heartwarming to see.
Is going to be from Ronnie Vigiano, and it was going to be a tribute to a neighbor who was so special. He was supposed to be here. He didn't come because he's raking leaves in her yard. So therefore, Ronnie will tell you her very moving story.
He also couldn't come because his son is arriving at Newark Airport, and he had to go down to pick him up. So, but I came here late because I couldn't believe I was getting dressed to come down here to give him a tribute, and he's blowing leaves in my backyard. I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I'm blowing your leaves." So he said, I just can't make it. But anyhow, my story is a mystery story because, let me know if you can't hear me, but I have a very loud voice, so I don't think I need the microphone. The mystery is that for 2 years, my husband and I would wake up and see that our driveway had been plowed. And this happened probably about 10 years ago. And we couldn't figure it out because we had not hired anybody to plow our driveway. We were not paying anybody to plow our driveway. But every single snowstorm, we had a nice clean driveway. So after about 2 years, I heard a noise down at the end of the house, and I looked out, and there was this man that I didn't know in a truck plowing our driveway. And I opened the window and I shouted out, "Have you been plowing our driveway for 2 years?" And he said, "Yes, I have." And I said, "Why are you doing that?" And he said, "Well, I saw your husband shoveling at the bottom of your driveway one day, and I didn't want him to have to do that anymore." So I said, "Well, thank you very much. We couldn't figure out who was doing this." And my husband at the time was in his mid-80s, and we had a snowblower, and he would snow blow our driveway. But at the bottom of the driveway, there was always a big buildup from the snow plow that the town would deposit. So we'd have to shovel that out. And this lovely man saw him doing that and thought, this man is elderly and he shouldn't have to do that. So that was the beginning of our wonderful friendship. And in summertime, again, I heard a noise coming up the driveway, and it was this wonderful neighbor on his lawn mower coming to mow our lawn. Every 2 weeks he comes and mows our lawn. In the fall, he comes and blows our leaves, which he's not doing it now, he's on his way to Newark now. So, he's just been a wonderful, wonderful person. And my husband passed away in the meantime, and I really rely on him for so much because I value his opinion and I just know I can depend on him. So every season he does something special. Every season he brings me a beautiful bouquet of flowers and plants. In the summer I get a big pot of geraniums. In the fall I get a big pot of chrysanthemums, I get poinsettias, and a Christmas ball at Christmas. And in the spring, it's always a big pot of, senior moment. No, pansies. So he's really just been wonderful. In the spring, he plants my garden. And he has his own garden. He has a garden where he works, and he has a garden at his house. So he brings me fresh vegetables. And he brings me chickens and cheese from Costco. And this year, he and his wife took me down to a Yankee game, even though he's a Red Sox fan. He made the supreme sacrifice. And at this point, I was going to introduce this mystery man. His name is Kevin Andros. He lives on my street. He's my neighbor. He's a wonderful person. He is helpful to everyone. He's a spirit builder. And since he's not here, I'm going to introduce another lifesaver of mine, who I depend upon also. His name is Pete Nichols. Yes. Pete Nichols is a wonderful man. He is. He's also a spirit builder.
Right.
He takes care of everything that goes wrong in my house. He just fixed my steps. And I'm just a very lucky person to be able to stay in my house and have two people I can depend on so much to help me get by. So that's my story.
And I don't know how I would exist. We consider our surrogate son. He is just such an important person in not just our two lives, but so many lives in the community. And I think there was just an article in the paper about Pete and all of his volunteer work and helping people. We need people like this in the community. Thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you.
Well, we did it in justice. Anyone else left it there? Well, anyway, I'm just going to quickly end by telling you the story of Tellabration. It started in 1988 with a man named Papa Pinkerton. He was from Darien. He was a scientist, graduate of MIT, a mining engineer. He traveled all over the world. He loved his job. He was down in South America doing a job. He got a pink slip. Oh my God. He was mid-50s. He had intended to work for at least another 10 years. Here he had to retire, or he had to resign. He got on the plane. He was in deep, deep, deep depression. What am I going to do? What am I going to tell my life? What am I going to do with my life? I don't have any hobbies or interests. So he looked in front of him, and there was that seat with the pocket with the magazine from the airline that was sponsoring the flight. He said, I'm going to open that up. And whatever is on that page, whether it's an advertisement or a story, I'm going to select something, and that's what I'm going to do for my retirement. Wow. So very carefully, he opens it up. No ads. Nothing special except an entire 2 pages of the value of storytelling, its importance in history. And he goes, oh my God, no. I'm a scientist. I want facts. I have never told a story in my life. How could this come up? He went home, and he thought about it, and he said, you know, I've always liked challenges in my life. This is going to be a challenge. So he started going to every storytelling adult and children in all the libraries. He started taking books and learning stories. He took acting classes, improv, writing, public speaking, poetry, anything that would relate to literacy. After about a year, he was becoming a pretty good storyteller, and he really liked it. And he joined the New England Storytelling Conference in New London, wonderful organization, and he loved it. He became an officer. And in 1988, he said, there needs to be an international storytelling conference. And it should be near Thanksgiving, one of the 2 Saturdays before Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving is such a special time to tell stories. And he initiated it. And it's been going for all of these years. We've had storytelling here for 3 years. It's been at the Meeting House. It's been at the, Stone Throne Theater. It's been at the Theater Bar. It's been at the library. What you just need is a person.
Darla, you have
Bring
30
people
seconds.
together.
30 seconds.
And stay within the time limit. Because he was very big on a time limit. He said anybody, if they're going to tell a good story, the story should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it shouldn't go any longer than 4 minutes. So I'd like to thank you all for coming, and a wonderful, wonderful storytellers. We have 33 storytellers, no repeats. We have so many people in the community with stories to tell. And we already have for next year, the Beatties here, who are going to be talking about athletics in the community. And I'm sure we have other people as well. And if you would like to tell a story next year, please come up and tell me. There's a theme, but we're very broad-based. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.